Hey there, and welcome to this Virginia Boys presentation on Patrick Henry. Today, we're going to discuss Patrick Henry's tenure as governor of Virginia. Last time, we talked about Patrick Henry's role in the gunpowder incident. Now, 1775 was an extremely dramatic year for Patrick Henry. In March, he gave his famous speech, "Give me liberty or give me death." That speech is known today as one of the greatest speeches in American history. And if you know the personal story behind this speech, it should make Patrick Henry one of your favorite founders. You see, only a couple of weeks before he gave his speech at the Second Virginia Convention, his wife Sarah had died. Remember, Sarah Shelton Henry had been with him since his days as a struggling farmer, and she supported him throughout some of his most difficult moments. After years living in the Virginia wilderness, she suffered a mental break, and in early 1775, she sadly died. Her death caused Henry an incredible amount of heartache and stress. Now, due to the lack of societal rights for women at this time, it is common for people today to judge harshly the men as misogynistic and abusive. But by all accounts, Henry was a loving husband, and Sarah's mental disorder may have been more of a genetic disorder than anything else. However, at this time, mental disorders were not well understood, and many considered all mental diseases to be signs of demonic possession. This is why Henry kept Sarah's condition a secret, and under the strain of losing his precious Sarah, he gave one of the greatest speeches in the history of America. If you remember from our last episode, Henry rode to Williamsburg during the gunpowder incident that same April, and things were falling apart for the British government in Virginia. In fact, by June, Governor Dunmore had to flee Williamsburg for the safety of a British warship on the York River. As soon as Dunmore was out of town, Henry went to work raising a regiment of troops to protect Williamsburg and the surrounding areas from Dunmore's army. However, many were disturbed by Henry's lack of military experience and requested he give up control of his regiment to someone more experienced. Even Washington said, "Look, bro, I love you and all, but it would probably be better if you just stuck with your day job," or something like that. Henry eventually resigned his commission and returned to work as a government employee. He played an important role in the drafting of the Virginia Constitution, as well as a document known as the Virginia Declaration of Rights. This declaration is important for us today because it would be the basic blueprint for the U.S. Bill of Rights. Henry had been a little peeved that so many had doubted his military leadership skills. However, I think it's safe for us today to come down with the side of Washington, that Henry was way more valuable to the cause of American independence with his role in Virginia politics. By 1776, Henry was elected to take over as Virginia's governor. He took up residence in the governor's palace for a while, but eventually spent most of his time out west due to an illness he contracted while being stationed with his troops behind the College of William and Mary. Now, up to this point, Henry had a really glamorous role in the beginnings of the Revolution. I mean, his advocacy for the local farmers in the Parson's cause, as well as his resolves against the Stamp Act and the famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech, presented Patrick Henry as this kind of maverick character, kind of a lone gunman going up against the whole world, standing up for truth and justice. Well, even if his role as governor is far less attractive, it may be more important to American independence. Even while suffering from a debilitating disease, he worked tirelessly to ensure Washington's armies had enough supplies, especially during the difficulties of the Valley Forge winter. Henry also had to contend with British-sponsored Indian uprisings up in Western Virginia. The constant late nights and early mornings quickly took a toll on Henry's already diminished health. After 3 years as governor, Henry does not seek re-election. He's replaced by none other than Thomas Jefferson, who basically let the whole Commonwealth fall apart, but a story for another day. Thanks for watching this episode on Patrick Henry, and if you're interested in learning more on our great founders, please subscribe. Next time, we'll talk about Patrick Henry's take on the U.S. Constitution. Till then, Godspeed.